he had a lot of people in Washington, D.C. really upset with him because he was advocating for tribal control of tribal space and tribal monies. Most of the residential boarding schools were actually funded out of the payments that were due to tribes over treaties and land stuff, like paying for our own colonization. Roger got elected, and he's like, it's over. So he applied for some HUD funding, said, we need healthy houses. And we have so many health issues going on in our communities. We got transportation problems. I've never found another politician that I have researched that has a record like this. He served for 32 years as tribal chair, and the life expectancy for tribal members increased by 20 years during his tenure. Most of it through public policy interventions. It used to be you're having a heart attack, start walking. He got phone service. He got electricity, an ambulance service, a major expansion onto the clinic, a huge intervention with housing, and he had to fight every step of the way. At first, when he'd applied for HUD funding, the US government came up and they said, well, we're not going to release these funds to you. And he said, well, why? He said, well, they have to be in clusters, like low-income housing, like orchestrated ghetto thinking, whatever. And he said, but this is a reservation, and people have been living in the same places since longer than America's been in existence. It just doesn't make sense here. He says, well, you want the money, build them in clusters. Send in a legal description. So he said, all right, fine. Send in a legal description. Then instead of just, and this is usually what happens in a tribal economy, hiring a bunch of white contractors to come in and build the houses, he applied for loans, leveraged off of the other HUD funds, and created a tribal construction company, hired a bunch of native people and had the native people build the houses, got additional loans, and they actually built 5 times the number of houses that they were funded to build. The HUD inspector came out, mad as a hornet. There are houses all over the place. What are you doing? This is not the plan. He said, well, I sent you a legal description. Can't you read a legal description? He had sent in the legal description for the whole res. But by then, he had the press coming up there, and they were doing articles, and all of a sudden, it was a lot harder to walk it all back.